Yeah. Okay, guys, the room's filling up. Feels like a Friday, like I already said. So I kind of just want to jump into this info session. I do these routinely right before our application closes, just to get any of your guys's questions or concerns, or honestly, just to kind of like touch base with innovators and founders and startups in the community and talk a little bit about VSG, partly because a lot of people don't really know what VSG is or what it does. It's existed for quite some time. It's had many iterations. And so today we're just going to focus on the residency program. There is, okay. Grishma asked, for students to get involved in VSG, should students already have an idea for a startup or small startup? Not necessarily. Students, I'll talk a little bit about how students interact with the garage, all the different and unique ways that we interact with students. So yeah, just if you guys aren't startup founders yet, if you don't have a startup that you're already working on, don't count yourself out from our program, because we do offer public services, because we just want to build a community. Our whole like ethos is like, let's build an innovation community in the Silicon Beach area, so that people can think about USC Viterbi when they think about innovation. And so that's what we're doing. Okay, so let's get started. I might like pause just to let people in from the waiting room. I have a hard time like managing that all by myself, and my student worker isn't on the call. So I'm just gonna like, if I sound a little disjointed, it's because I'm doing a lot of stuff. So first things first, consider joining our mailing list if you already are not on it. And the only reason I say that is because that's where we post all of our events, especially our public facing events. We also put some additional resources or events that are happening within the community on occasion, like other opportunities. So in case you kind of want to find out what else is going on, who else we're working with, all the other stuff that's going on in kind of the innovation space, it's a good newsletter to follow. If you're a student, consider going to our website and also following the TIE newsletter, the Technology, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship, because that's a lot more student facing, and it's meant to support you guys understanding what opportunities are on campus for you guys. And there's a ton of stuff. And I think they're working really hard to make sure that it's like a one-stop shop. But without further ado, this is the agenda for today. We're going to talk about programs, resources, and the community. Some of the questions I intend to answer is, what are the programs and who are they for? For resources, it's like, what do we offer? And who receives them? And then for the community, it's, what else is available? If you're not a team, if you're a specialist or an investor, how do you get involved? So, I'm going to just kind of go through a few different things. So first things first, let's like get rid of all the ghosts of VSG past and talk specifically about what VSG is, kind of high level. So one of the things that makes us unique amongst other accelerator programs and incubators is that we are a free resource, which is wild. We do not take equity. It also means we don't invest. There's no exchange in capital. We are loosely associated with the Viterbi Venture Fund only because the director of the garage is also on the board for that fund. And teams from the garage have been invested in from the Viterbi Venture Fund in the past, obviously because the director has a bird's eye view of how they're operating and can see whether or not they're fit for that venture cap, for that investment. But other than that, there's really no exchange in capital. It's a free resource. It also means that your IP is safe. Sometimes when you are building things with a university, you're translating research into some sort of commercial product. There are, tech transfer requirements. So even though we are part of the university, anything that you do in the confines of VSG is your IP to keep. We're not trying to be a part of that. So that's what really kind of sets us apart in a lot of ways. Some of the criteria, we are looking for full-time founders. And so, you know, if you're splitting your time with a day job, or you're a student, you might be a little early for the garage. We want people who've like completely dived into their business. However, we have taken teams in the past where the co-founders are kind of like one of them is full-time, the other one is part-time, or where the founders are students, but they're like set to graduate within the time frame that they're going to be with us in residency. So there's obviously going to be exceptions to that. You know, we're really looking for special types of people. And if you fit that mold and you're not 100% full-time, we can make exceptions for that. But for the most part, we're an in-person residency incubator. If you're not full-time, how can you possibly be here and contribute to the community? So keep that in mind. Needless to say, LA-based, it doesn't make sense for anyone to be living somewhere super duper far like San Diego and needing to come here routinely. Technology enabled. So your product, your business needs to have tech at its core, meaning whatever it is that you're creating, it's tech enabled. What that actually means in terms of the type of technology is pretty open. You know, we take Viterbi SaaS companies, software companies, but we also take hardware teams and teams who are kind of in the deeper sciences, building things with machine learning and AI. We like a broad range, actually. There are benefits to the different types of startups. And so we like to keep it pretty well-rounded. But what does that mean in terms of phase? You know, we say early stage. So, and that's, you know, I feel like early stage is like it's defined by investors or something, because it just basically means like pre-investment. So you're like pre-seed, maybe your seed, maybe raising your Series A. But if you really think about startups in terms of how you're operating, that's a huge range. We are usually not going to take a team that's in ideation or pre-customer discovery. If you haven't identified your market, if you are, you know, struggling with product market fit, if you're not ready to launch, you know, if you're not building something already, then you're probably too early to be a resident team. No USC affiliation required. I mean, this one, I feel like I say this all the time, and it makes sense. We're a USC incubator, so everybody's like, obviously you need to be a part of USC in some way. No, you don't. You don't have to be an alumni. You don't have to be a student. You don't have to be faculty. We like supporting those individuals because obviously they're a part of our institution and that's important to us. However, you know, if you are from another university or you're not affiliated to any university, you're just a random startup founder in LA with tech enabling your product, you qualify. And then I think more of like on the social cultural community side, we want people who are actually interested in being a part of a startup community. I can get into the value of that. Actually, if you guys really want to hear some of that, we just did an Oceanside chat with one of our former founders, Greta, from Blue Fever, and she talks a little bit about that. And it is an invaluable resource, having people around you who are experiencing your same pain points and can also give you strategic advice because they have been doing kind of similar things to you is really amazing when you're a startup founder and feeling very alone in your process. And then how do we accept teams? The logistics are, we do 2 recruiting cycles, one in the spring and one in the fall. And our spring recruiting cycle happens right around April, and our fall recruiting cycle happens right around October. Our application process for review includes just poring over your applications, and then conducting limited Zoom interviews for teams who we feel, based off of their applications, are potentially good resident teams. At the end of all of that process, we take 5 to 6 teams. And if you don't get in, we take applications every 6 months. So apply again. We've had teams apply multiple cycles and get in maybe on their third application. Part of the value in doing that is that your application grows along with your business, and we can then kind of see like, oh yeah, this team applied, but they were like too early in this way, or they were working full-time or something. And then your next application proves that whatever you said you were intending to do as a business happened within 6 months. And that's super valuable. That's also true for when you're doing investment, in case you guys are interested in learning more about that. Just a little insight, investors really like to see you do the things you say you're going to do in the time frame that you say you're going to do them. Let's see. Oh, and then I think I should mention here, although I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it during this info session, this cycle, we're also taking some additional teams, meaning on top of the 5 to 6, we're going to take some teams that are where their technology is space focused. We are very fortunate to be involved with a university that's constantly creating partnerships through programs and organizations, and we get the benefit of that. And so through a new initiative with an organization on campus called CREST and the Aerospace Corporation, we now have new resources to provide for space technology teams. And so more on that will happen once I get an info session organized with the Aerospace Corp to come and talk a little bit about some of the unique offerings that we'll have for those teams. But they will be in addition to our 5 to 6. Okay, I'm going to pause here just because there might be some questions in the group. Let's see, I have a question if the program is available for F1 students. So visa stuff is tough. We, I think yeah, of course, if you guys are a student and you are on a student visa, we're here to help you in terms of, all the stuff that we already do. And I'll talk to you about the program stuff. When it comes to like supporting that process of transitioning from a student to another form of visa, I know that right now those are conversations that are happening on campus because we are kind of shifting into this new age of innovation and entrepreneurship, and a vast majority of the graduate students at USC are international students. So the person who asked me that question, you can always reach out to me privately, vsg@usc.edu. So just send me an email asking this and I'll point you in the right direction to the people that could answer questions about this. But yeah, I mean, we're not worried about it. You guys have to be worried about it, basically. We're not providing resources for immigration, visa, things like that. Okay, any more questions? Okay, moving along. Our programs. So our programs are basically meant to touch upon all the different types of ways startups need help. So Founder Circle is by far one of the most useful of these services, of these programs, and it's because it really kind of allows founders to come together with other founders, talk about their goals, set goals, but also, just ask questions. Like, for instance, there's a ton of needs that startups have, but they can't afford it, or they need to find like the cheapest, most usable and version of that. And so, things like that, little advice, looking around corners and having somebody say, oh, I've already done that, you should try reaching out to this person, just sharing experiences emotionally. All of that happens in Founder Circle along with goal setting, and it's been a really valuable aspect. In fact, like if you were to rip every other program out of the garage and just keep Founder Circle and the physical space, I think like it still has like worthiness and value. That's how important Founder Circle is. The Oceanside chats are really to get some specialists to kind of weigh in on stuff, because sometimes in Founder Circle we're sitting around and we're talking about something like digital marketing and everybody's like, I don't know. And so then we have to look out into the ecosystem that we've created of alumni, people out there who it's their job to do these things, and can come and wax poetic with us for about 40 minutes and talk about how to do that. And then they offer exclusive office hours to resident teams after Oceanside chats. So it's networking and skill sharing is the Oceanside chat. Legal clinic is bi-monthly and it's awesome. Legal services are very expensive, and oftentimes startups just kind of decide to bite the bullet and do a lot of boilerplate stuff, or not worry and just hope for the best. And at the garage, we've seen teams implode and have really, really bad legal repercussions before. So we know it's a resource that's necessary for teams, and we are capable of providing it free bi-monthly with one of our really great friends, Kevin DeBray from Steps Alderton. We also recorded a ton of stuff, and this year will be the first year that we are offering an exclusive opportunity. I think we're going to continue doing it. It's just our first time where Kevin is offering to kind of check under the hood. How far have you come as a business? Let's just make sure you didn't make any big time mistakes when it comes to what you've done on the legal standpoint of your startup. Like a quality control check. VC angel office hours. So these are great because as technical founders, oftentimes the hardest thing is to pitch or to, sell, right? And it's because most of you guys are engineers and you're really thinking about the product in terms of its actual inherent value and not, and you feel like that's enough. And so it's hard for you to express that well enough to get people to believe in you and to want to invest. VC Angel Office Hours is an opportunity for us to pull our investor group together, and it's a constantly growing group, and they're in all sorts of industries, and they weigh in on your pitch deck, and it's meant to be brutal, and the part of the brutal feedback that's necessary is that as you begin fundraising, if you haven't already, you will receive a lot of rejection and not a lot of explanation, because it's not in the best interest of the investors to be brutal. So this gives you an opportunity to hear what investors are probably saying once you leave the room. So ISI Tech Exchange, we're in the ISI building, which is the Information Sciences Institute. Little factoid, it's basically where the internet was created. I mean, so as in terms of domain name services, and long story short, it's full of researchers who are on the cutting edge of all sorts of really great technologies. We leverage that by coming together with them a couple times a year and presenting technical challenges that you guys are experiencing and just hearing what they have to say about it. And then the last one is the Summer Smasher, which is basically an opportunity for teams to have student support. So it's an 8-week summer program where we bring students from the university to come do projects for the teams. And it's super duper successful. I mean, I like to talk about the metrics of success all the time. If I were to I'd blow your brains out, because this past year, we had something like 450 applicants, unique applicants. And at the end of that whole matchmaking cycle, there was 98 projects that we were able to do during the summer, which is just wild. If you want to know more about that program, I do info sessions for that closer to Summer Smasher. So you can expect that to happen, I'm assuming around the January, February time. And so if you're on the newsletter, you'll definitely get invitations to those info sessions. You can also look at past info sessions or the showcases that we have posted on our videos. Okay, I'll stop there for a second. Let me just go back. Any questions on the programs? Nope. Okay. It's a quiet group. I should have known with all those digital thumbs up. Okay, resources. These are the basics, the things that you don't think you need, but it makes you feel more comfortable. The office is beautiful. If you haven't been out here to the marina and visited the garage, I mean, it literally overlooks the ocean, and it has been developed over time since I've been here. So right outside the door, you have a lot of really great options for, you know, inviting investors to come and have a lunch or whatever. But at the end of the day, the space is beautiful and it's 24/7 access, meaning I don't have to be here. Nobody has to be here. You could be the only one here. You could sleep here. Don't sleep here. Yeah, and it comes with all of the expected benefits: desks, breakout rooms, and coffee and snacks and things like that. Virtually, we have resources that you can take advantage of, one being the innovators in residence. So this is our mentor team. They offer office hours through Calendly. You set those up and you have an opportunity to meet with all three of them, 30 minutes a piece at each week, to just talk about your business. If you have questions or if you need advice or just to give them updates or for connections, they're there. And they're really happy to connect. They wish they would connect more with teams. I think sometimes founders don't exactly know what to ask. And my encouragement to you guys is just take advantage of every resource, like set the 30 minutes up and then see what happens. As I mentioned, VC Angel office hours, but those are virtual, so I just wanted to add it to that list. The legal office hours, actually, well, so, okay, the legal clinic is in person over lunch. The legal office hours are virtual, so that does belong there. And then things like AWS credits. And obviously with my growing Rolodex of community members, including investors, I'm super duper happy to write warm introductions and get you guys into doors that maybe are a little harder on your own. Anyone want to ask any questions about the resources? Okay. The community. So
hello.
Oh, hi. You got a question?
Yes. So yeah, I just had a few questions. So I put it in the chat. So
Oh, I'm
you,
so sorry.
if you don't get it into the PSG, can we still get a small rate, like a legal consultation?
I would have to check with Kevin. However, he is a lover of startups. He's been working in the startup space for quite some time. I do know that on occasion we will get some legal clinic style oceanside chats. And it's important for me to connect with you guys because at the end of the day, it's really about me setting it up, right? So I could potentially have an oceanside chat with some of our other lawyer partners and friends so that our public community can ask those questions. So, I mean, I'm glad you asked this in the group. Consider this me encouraging you guys. Ooh, somebody's in the waiting room. Consider this me letting you guys know that although my priority is obviously to support the teams in the space, like really, I want to support startups in Southern California and the LA area in general. Don't be shy to like send me an email and say, hey, I love the Oceanside Chat series. Is there any way that you can get somebody who does this? That would be great. I would love some directionality from like the general community. I don't touch base with you guys. So Mahir, that's probably one of the easiest solutions is let me get somebody to do a public thing. And then you can like ask your question either on that Oceanside chat or privately. But oftentimes, and very fortunate for us, these free consultations that are public are followed up with like, and here's my email, feel free to reach out. And so then it gives you another avenue for connection. Any more questions for resources? Yeah, of course. All right. Moving on, community. Honestly, like that, this is really where it's at. Like we want to be involved. And post-pandemic, it feels very much like the startup world in Southern California is starting to really ramp up its connectivity. You know, the pandemic really separated us all for a variety of reasons. And now that we're like back open and running it, and for a few years, it's evident to me that there are new kind of groups cropping up. Events are at, you know, more and more each year. LA Tech Week, I don't know if you guys are participating in that, is proving that everyone has an appetite to come together and to network. And so we want to be a part of that. And we do that by involving ourselves. Some of it is through these additional programs like the National Science Foundation I-Corps program. The hub is out of USC and it's actually a part of the office that VSG is a part of. And so we have really great connections and opportunities regarding that program, the I-Corps program. And then we used to do a tech scouting workshop. I don't ever want to take it off of this deck because I want to believe that we will do them again. I'm not sure if we're going to do a tech scouting workshop this year, but if we are, VSG will definitely be involved in that. Mentors. This is, this is probably the easiest part of my job. For some reason, USC alumni are like super happy to give back to the university and to the community. And they're also really happy to share their network connections. And so we are lucky that we have so many inbound leads when it comes to things like mentors. And we have some really good Oceanside chats coming up for unique skills that we haven't actually had Oceanside chats about yet. So just like, again, if you're a mentor, I don't know if you're in here and you're like a million-time founder and have a lot of advice to give, you can obviously reach out to me. And I would love to talk to you about how maybe you can help the community and not just be a part of the need. The last thing is students. Students are, oh God, I love students so much. There's just so much energy and potential and life. So how do we interact with them? Mostly through Summer Smasher. But we also have other programs through our office like MEPC and MFC, which are two competitions with cash prizes for student teams who have at least one Viterbi member on their team. And so if you have more questions about those programs, you go to the website. If you have like a lot of questions that you can't get answered on the website, reach out to me and I'll put you in contact with people who can answer those questions. Okay, any questions about the community aspect of VSG? Any help in IP from Omar? In IP protection? Well, so yes, so like one thing that I'll say is that through our legal clinic and actually our archived legal clinic videos, there's plenty of support in terms of all of the things that you should and should not be doing when it comes to protecting your intellectual property. So, that would be the area of support that I would tell you, like, let's take it to the lawyer. But also I know that for some of you who are maybe faculty founders or are kind of trying to commercialize some research, there is the Stevens Center at USC that is also providing resources to help you navigate that process. So I'm not sure like what side of the fence you're on with that. Let's see, more questions. We are USC alumni and undergoing Boom. Oh, great. Are we eligible? Yeah, for sure. We like teams who have gone through Zap and Boom. Zap and Boom, for the record, if anyone is interested, are the regional programs for the national I-Corps program. So USC and other schools that are in the hub provide these kind of I think it's like an 8-week course to basically get you guys to do a ton of customer discovery and find your product market fit so that when you do apply to the national program, you're a good candidate. So yeah, we like that. Sometimes we tell people to go do Zap and Boom. Hi, is VSG part of TIE or the vice versa? Yeah, great question. VSG is actually a part of TIE. So the Technology, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship Department, which is led by the Vice Dean of Innovation, Ellis Meng, has these kind of programs, and VSG is one of them. We are kind of like the outward facing program that helps us to connect to the community. The other programs like VSI Squared and these competitions, like I've mentioned, some courses, they are all student facing, and faculty to a degree, and they're meant to support innovation on campus, but we're all part of the TIE office. This is a great question. Any other questions? we're coming close to the end. Are these all up to date? Yeah. Okay. 2023 Fall Cohort application is live now. I'll say this about the application. There is probably going to be an extension. We always extend it, but don't depend on it. Apply by the deadline. And if, but like, whatever, if you miss it, check to see if we've extended it. The space teams are 100% going to have an extension, only because the process of developing some of those unique resources is taking some time, and I'm not trying to apply unnecessary pressure to these new resources. So we're working with the Aerospace Corp and with CREST to make sure that we really know what we're talking about before we close that application cycle, and that teams feel really informed. And so that will follow suit. So if you are thinking about applying specifically for the space cohort, on the application, it's just a little radio button. There is probably going to be an extension to the space teams. The kickoff is mid-October, but it's probably going to be closer to the end of October for a variety of reasons. And then here's some of the Summer Smasher dates for the students on the call who are interested in that. Let's see. Question: do you assist in finding interns? So that's a great question, Omar. So the Summer Smasher program is so, like, I try to think about VSG in, like, what are all the needs that startups have? And skilled, talented, technical professionals is one of those things. And they're hard to find, they're super expensive, and it's always a big old question mark. So Summer Smasher is a response to that. But, you know, it only happens once a year, and it's only 8 weeks, and it's really great because it's basically free resources for you, and you could potentially offer opportunities or real internships for the students afterwards, depending on their status and residency. Other than that, I have really great mailing lists that I've developed over all of the time that I've been here with recent graduates. And I'm always happy to share any solicitations that teams might have for needs in that way. The other thing is that the campus is constantly hosting career events, and I'm very good friends with the career services people at Viterbi, and also I think, like, I have some connections with the general career services at USC. And so there are unique ways that you can push out job postings and internship opportunities into the USC community. So that's about the extent of helping. But also, I would say through Founder Circle, that's a typical question to come up. Does anyone know anyone who does this, right? And then depending on if another team has already traversed that process, they'll have connections, meaning they didn't hire everybody, or they'll tell you the platform that they used or whatever works best, or things to avoid. So there's a lot of different ways that internships and things like that are, we help teams. Adam, is there a set number of applicants you accept to VSG each year? Yeah, for sure. So in the fall and in the spring, we take about 5 to 6 teams each cohort. So at the garage, we have usually like 10 to 12 teams incubating with us. Some of them have been with us from the fall. Some of us have been with us for the spring. They stay with us for a full year. So like every 6 months, we're saying goodbye to about 5 to 6 teams, and then we're bringing in 5 to 6 new teams. And then there'll be a few additional teams because of the space cohort this cycle. How are chances of non-space teams for approval in the fall? Oh, great. We're taking 5 to 6 teams, period, for VSG. You don't have to be a space-related team. It's a good time to be a space-related team because we want space-related teams, but if you're not, it's no big deal. We're going to have a regular, general, agnostic cohort like we always do. We're just adding a few extra teams. So my guess is that we'll probably take like 8 teams or 9 teams this cycle, where 5 to 6 of them are going to be just the regular VSG type of squad that we would accept. Naveen, I'm currently an international master's student and will be graduating in 2025. Do I qualify for the residency program as my visa doesn't allow me to venture my startup? So these are questions that so they are valid questions. And and it's good that you're thinking about it now. Sometimes international students will specifically follow the path of startups because you are now creating a business that allows you to stay in the United States. That process is complicated and challenging, and I'm not the person to be able to help in that way. And VSG in general is not the mechanism. However, I know founders who've done it. So I love putting founders in touch with founders and say, hey, this person is doing it. How did you do it? What do they need to think about? What do they need to start doing right away? Other things I would say is start taking advantage of your resources on campus. This is a conversation that's happening now. Different departments are recognizing that we really need to start supporting students in this way. It doesn't make sense for you guys to go to USC and have all of these great skills be trained into you, and you guys then leave the country and take all of those great skills out of the United States. So it's important for us that you guys stayed. So I think you should consider taking advantage of those current resources you have as a student while you're there. And if you want some inroads, some connections, email me vsg@usc.edu, and I'll put you in contact with the best people I know who are thinking on it right now. What is your view about prior funding? Do teams need prior funding to be accepted? Okay, it really depends on who you ask. If you ask the director, 100% prior funding, because that's your valid. Somebody already vetted you and said, okay, let's give them some money. So that's an easy bet in a lot of ways. It's not my favorite type of team. My favorite, and this is why it's so good that I'm part of that community aspect, and he's part of this kind of success aspect. But at the end of the day, I think that an incubator is meant to serve. So, if you're pre-funding, pre-seed, and you're trying to get your first customers, or you're trying to get your first proof of concept, or you're working towards an SBIR or some other type of grant. There are plenty of pre-funded teams that are a perfect fit for the garage because we have resources to help you through that initial phase of development. Yeah, so that, I guess the answer is yes and no. The way we review teams is basically to have a nice collection of teams that have a variety of skill sets and abilities and phases, because that diversity is what's going to make the community supportive and helpful. I hope that answered your question. I think that's it for the questions that have popped up in the chat. I've been totally spacing on the waiting room. That's okay. All right. So our current application is set to deadline October 1st. If you guys have any questions about the application, I can go into it now. The TIE website is here, and that is where you'll find some of those additional competitions, the TIE newsletter, which is very good for students and faculty. So yeah, these are just two very useful QR codes. Does anyone have any specific questions about the application? Okay, here's a question. If my team just consists of just myself, am I still eligible to apply? Yeah, we take solo founders. It is not ideal. And it's not ideal, not for us. It's not like an ideal situation for anyone, because a startup is like a baby. And it's like being a single parent. It's so nice to have a solid relationship with another adult who can help carry that load of responsibility, and also to differentiate against your skills and the way that you think. So, our favorite type of team is obviously going to have some technical person and some very business oriented person. And it's not just us that think that way, investors think that way too. They don't want to be worried that a single founder is going to get burned out or give up or not know when they are doing the wrong thing. And that checks and balances and accountability and support from a co-founder goes a long way. However, we do take solo founders. Plus, when teams pivot or change, oftentimes co-founders will split and somebody will continue on with the startup and become a solo founder. But I guess like my advice is to consider why you're alone, and then also think to yourself, is that really like what you want? And if it's not, then what are the next steps in finding somebody to be a co-founder? Like what would that look like, and where would that person come from? But yes, we do take solo founders. It's just not it's not like ideal for you. Here's a question. Do all co-founders need to be USC affiliated? So I'll just say it again. It's so funny. No USC affiliation required at all. So like we have a team, Crew Lab, they are from UCLA. We had another team that just left the garage, who was also from UCLA. Why am I spacing on there? Lysis. So yeah, I mean, we just take LA-based startups that with technology enabling their business. So no USC affiliation required by any of the founders. Let's see, there's another solo founder question. Let's see, thanks for all the responses. Yeah, I think so far it looks like I've answered all the questions in the chat. Does anyone want to like ask me a real, like a in live with voice, maybe even camera? I don't want to stress you guys out. Question. I mean, I can also start to just answer some of my frequently asked questions from these office hours that I've been hosting. The first is like, how do I make my application stand out? Like, what are you guys looking for? That's a fair question. The application is really kind of like a three-pronged application. A portion of it is looking to you guys as individuals who are captaining this ship. So we like experience. And if you're not experienced in your particular industry or in that technology, having an advisor or a set of members of a board or somebody who's helping that's already baked into the business is a good thing to add to your application, because we want to know that you guys have the right team to accomplish what it is you're trying to do. So that area of the application should really help you in that way. Think about what are the strengths of the team and highlight that. And a lot of it is going to be experience. Then there's the actual technology. So here's where you can sell the dream, but also be very realistic, meaning like don't pretend you don't have competitors. That's not typically, that's very unlikely. You know, it's important for you to sound like the professional and the expert in what it is that you're building. And so just make sure that that doesn't get miscommunicated as you not really being in touch with what else is going on in the landscape of the work that you do. So make sure that you're really thinking about your product in terms of like what your competitive advantage is against all of the other challenges that your technology will face against, you know, competitors. The last portion is the business stuff, and that's kind of hard because some of you guys will be so early that you can't talk about things like revenue or customer acquisition. Others of you will have some of that traction to be able to share. I think the business should help us to see your vision for the next year. So because you're going to be with us for a year, so we should feel confident that you know what you're going to do for the next calendar year. We don't want you to come in confused or without a plan. So use that opportunity to make it clear to us, like you are positioned to take advantage of all of the resources that we're going to give you to get from here to there. So you can think about the business portion like that. This last slide is just a book a chat, book a visit. If you book a visit, I'd love to show you the space. Booking a chat is basically my office hours. You can take advantage of these opportunities. I'm really happy to host you guys and show you guys the space. It's a good sign when you come to visit because it means that you can get here. We definitely want to make it clear to teams that we want full-time founders who are going to be here in the space at least 3 days a week, really participating basically. Does anyone have any questions before I completely wrap up this info session?
Yes, the last question. I have worked during the summer, like we started up on your. Am I audible?
But here, it's hard for me to hear you. Are you talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to you.
Okay, what did you say? There's just a lot of background noise.
Yeah, I know. I'm outside. So my question is like, it's during the summer I started up a company with a business USC master's friend, and then we are still students at USC, and we have not completed our program yet. So even if we like, I don't plan to like apply this time since I think it's early. We did our first project, but is there any way we still be affiliated with USG, but not apply this semester, maybe next semester?
I feel awful just because I was hoping that at some point I would like catch your drift or whatever, but I couldn't. I'm so sorry, Mahir. Did anyone else get Mahir's questions and can help him out? Otherwise, I might ask you to just drop it in the chat, and I'm so sorry. I honestly, I don't even want to take a guess as to what you just said. That's how much I didn't understand it. Mahir, I'm really sorry. It's just a lot of background noise. Maybe just drop it in the chat, or you can always set up some time with me. We can talk about it another time. Yeah, okay, email or LinkedIn, perfect. Super sorry. Where can I get the recorded session on the Athena series by Jared Crust? Oh, I think you're talking about the Greif incubator, because I remember getting like a solicitation about this Athena series. If you are, so Nabeen, if you are connected to Orlando Bloom, who manages that program, he would be the person to tell you where to get that. I'm sorry, I don't know. But Orlando Bloom would know. Any other questions? All right, y'all. It's been a pleasure. I love seeing you guys. I'm very excited to see your applications come in. And if you are a space team, it's Orlando here. Let me, not Orlando Bloom. That's the actor. Paul Orlando. And that is recorded. Paul Orlando, not Orlando Bloom, because I'm a moron. Why didn't anybody correct me? Oh God, it's a Friday. Can we update our submitted applications? So the system is complicated in that you cannot update an application. However, if you really do want to resubmit, what I would say is either resubmit, period, because we'll see the duplicate and we'll just assume that the later one is the more recent information. Or if that's a lot of trouble because you don't want to spend as much time filling in the things that haven't changed, you could email me and I can send you all of your responses so you can copy paste and have an easier process for your resubmission. But that's the process, and I'm so sorry. It's just the way that Airtable works. Yep. Okay, guys, I can't believe I said Orlando Bloom so many times. I'm gonna go, and again, you guys can reach me in a variety of ways. Do not be shy to ask questions, especially if you are really, really interested in this year's cohort. All right, everybody. I'll catch you guys later. Stop sharing my screen and stop the video.